I was on the couch with my daughter, watching the premiere of my wife Khloe's new Netflix series. The scene shifted to Khloe and her co-star in a newlywed sequence, and my hand trembled. The glass of water I was holding slipped, shattering on the hardwood floor. That look of pure adoration on her face. That wasn't acting. I'd been married to Khloe for 6 years. I knew. A wave of dizziness and vertigo washed over me. I managed to calm my daughter down, then pulled out my phone and FaceTimed Khloe. It was rare, but she picked up instantly. "Ethan, hey. Khloe's in the shower right now. Can't really talk." The man on the screen was Leo Vance, her co-star. He was smirking, his smile a cocktail of mockery and arrogance. Perfect. My wife, so dedicated to her art, she was living out her scenes with another man. A woman like that, my daughter and I didn't need. "Get Khloe on the phone," I said, forcing my voice to remain steady, fighting back the rage and the spinning in my head. Leo's eyes scanned my surroundings on his screen, then he grinned. "You're in the study, right? Khloe gave me the tour once. Great space for yoga." I shot to my feet, but the vertigo hit me again hard, and I collapsed back into the chair. Was it 3 months ago? The day I picked up our daughter from school and found Khloe looking flushed and disoriented. She said she'd pulled a muscle doing yoga. The air in the house was thick with the scent of air freshener. So that was it. The day before she left for the 3-month location shoot, she'd been with him. Here, in our home. The audacity of it, the sheer thrill-seeking recklessness. The anger was blinding. I stared at the man on the screen, wanting to climb through it and tear him apart. He only grew bolder, pulling the phone back to reveal his bare torso. Only then did I register his background. It wasn't our home. It was a hotel suite. My hand clenched the armrest of my chair, my knuckles white, as if I could crush the wood to dust. "Now, get Khloe on the phone," I repeated, my voice a low growl. Leo glanced pointedly off camera, feigning a look of helplessness. "Ethan, calm down. She's in the bathroom. How is she supposed to take a call?" Before I could unleash the torrent of curses on my tongue, a familiar voice drifted through the phone's speaker. "Leo, honey, can you come give me a hand?" The world tilted. I was paralyzed, struck by lightning. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. "Khloe, you little sneak," Leo cooed back, his eyes flashing with triumph at me. "If you wanted me to join you, all you had to do was ask." He winked, then ended the call. A surge of hot blood rushed to my head, and I was consumed by a tidal wave of fury and grief. I staggered to my feet and methodically, brutally destroyed everything in my study. I had trusted her completely. I had put my life on hold to support her career. For this award-bait series, I'd let her leave her home and her daughter for 3 months, happily playing the role of stay-at-home dad. And this was my reward. She wasn't just acting out scenes with another man on set. She was in a hotel room with that pretty boy, having him rub lotion on her back, playing house in the shower. I had loved her for 6 years, spoiled her for 6 years. I'd taken her from a C-list nobody to a rising star on the verge of the A-list. The cost of that, the strings I'd pulled, the favors I'd called in. I'd even gone against my family's wishes to marry her. I'd swallow my pride to act as legal counsel for her family's small-time company, funneling them resources from my own family's corporation, Coal Industries. And now, she betrayed me, betrayed our family for another man. "Daddy," my daughter's timid voice cut through the red haze. The wreckage around me came into focus, and my destructive rampage ground to a halt. "It's okay, Maya. Don't be scared." I rushed to her side, crouching down to meet her tear-filled eyes. "Daddy just didn't like the way the room was decorated. I decided to do a little Reno." "Really?" She sniffled, unconvinced. "But you looked so mad. Was it because that mean man was bothering Mommy?" Looking at my 4-year-old, the words caught in my throat. I had to lie. "Daddy's not mad," I said, forcing a smile I hoped looked gentle. "Your mom was just acting. It was all pretend." The man already said he was sorry. Maya tilted her head, thinking it over. "Okay then," she said, her little mouth set in a pout. "I guess I can forgive him. That's my girl. So understanding." I stroked her hair and kissed her cheek, which finally coaxed a small, watery smile from her. "Daddy, your beard is scratchy. Then I'll shave it off. How about that?" I managed another weak smile, scooping her into my arms. "It's getting late. Time for you to get washed up for bed, where you'll never grow tall." "Okay." As I watched my daughter, so responsible and independent, diligently brushing her teeth, I rubbed my burning eyes. I had to divorce Khloe. To stay with her would be a toxic cloud hanging over Maya's childhood. I crouched down and asked her if she'd like to spend a few days at her uncle's house, playing with her older cousin. When she agreed excitedly, a weight I hadn't realized I was carrying finally lifted. Later, after Maya was sound asleep, I went out onto the living room balcony. I lit a cigarette, taking a long, deep drag, letting the smoke try to scour the tightness from my chest. In the pulsing glow of the cherry, I started planning how to minimize the fallout from the divorce. Khloe was a public figure, constantly watched by the paparazzi. One wrong move, and Maya would be caught in the crossfire. First, I needed a clean break. The revenge. There would be plenty of time to deal with that pair later. I stubbed out the cigarette and called my assistant, telling him I needed a complete file on Khloe Miller and Leo Vance. Everything from the last few months on my desk by morning. After hanging up, I went back into the silent living room, forcing myself not to dwell on the years I'd spent with that woman. I opened a bottle of bourbon, poured a heavy glass, and drank until the alcohol finally dragged me into a dreamless sleep. The next morning, after dropping Maya off at my brother's house, I went straight to my law firm to draft the divorce papers myself. But I couldn't focus. My brother's strange behavior kept replaying in my mind. Here I was, his own brother, cheated on and about to get divorced. And he looked happy. Focus, Ethan. The divorce is the priority, I muttered to myself. I stared at the freshly printed agreement, hoping Khloe would have the sense to sign it without making things ugly for everyone. That evening, she came home, a radiant smile on her face. Honey, did you see the premiere last night? Everyone's raving about my performance. Even the director said I exceeded his expectations. I might actually get an Emmy nod for this. She didn't notice the thundercloud on my face as she threw her arms around my neck and planted a kiss on my cheek. I caught the faint, cloying scent of a man's cologne I didn't recognize and gently pushed her away. Is that right? I gestured to the couch. Sit down. We need to talk. Talk about what? Khloe looked confused but did as I asked. I pulled up the file my assistant had sent and handed her the iPad. Take a look at this. She took it, her brow furrowed. As she saw the collection of key clips from her sex scenes with Leo, a flicker of panic crossed her eyes, her lips parting slightly. Honey, this is nothing, Khloe said, forcing a calm she didn't feel. It's just part of the shoot. Then, a look of faux realization dawned on her face. Oh, I get it. You're jealous because they added that bed scene at the last minute, aren't you? I almost laughed at the performance. She really was a good actress. It wasn't my call, okay? They added it on the day. I was going to tell you, but I wanted to make sure we got the shots first, she said, her voice laced with a practiced contrition that didn't quite mask its weakness. My anger simmered. I had accepted that she was an actress. I didn't care about a staged love scene. Most of it was just clever camera angles anyway. But from the beginning, she had lied, telling me there would only be a kiss. And even if the scene was a last-minute addition, what about faking the performance and then checking into a hotel with him? Did she really think I was that stupid? Don't be mad, honey. It was just camera tricks, she said, her eyes darting away from my fixed, cold stare. You don't really think Leo and I actually. We've been married for 6 years. I cut her off, refusing to listen to any more of her lies. Do you really think I can't tell the difference between acting and the real thing? Khloe's face went pale. She started to speak, but I held up a hand, motioning for her to keep scrolling. Under my glare, she had no choice. With every swipe of her finger, the color drained further from her face, and a fine sheen of sweat appeared on her forehead. The screen stopped on a collage of paparazzi photos from the set. She couldn't look anymore. She looked up at me. This is just us running lines. We had to build chemistry for the emotional scenes, or we get nothing but bad takes. Keep scrolling, I commanded, my voice devoid of its usual warmth. Take a good look at the fruits of your 3-month secluded shoot. Seeing the fury in my eyes, she swallowed hard and continued. When she opened the video file of her and Leo walking into a hotel together, her composure finally shattered. It was from last week, late at night. She'd told me she was feeling sick and was going to an urgent care clinic. Instead, she'd gone to get a room with him. In the video, she was holding his arm, his hand resting possessively on her waist as they walked into the lobby like a couple drunk on love. And I had spent that entire night worried, sick about her. All the blood drained from Khloe's face. Her lips trembled, and beads of sweat were now clearly visible on her forehead. If the photographer hadn't been holding on to this for a bigger payday, TMZ would have had a field day with it already. Honey, it's a misunderstanding. I can explain. Explain what? I sneered. That you left the clinic so late you had to get a room for the night. She nodded desperately, clinging to the excuse like a lifeline. The dam of my anger finally broke. I slapped her hard. She cried out, tumbling onto the sofa. I rubbed my stinging hand and played the last video. The two of them in the hotel hallway, locked in a passionate kiss. Feeling sick, were you? But still had the energy to make out with another man. My gaze was ice. Khloe, do you take me for a fool? Fear crept in her eyes. She scrambled off the couch and knelt on the floor. Ethan, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for it to happen. Tears streamed down her face as she wrapped her arms around my legs. It wasn't my fault. It was Leo. He seduced me. I just got confused for a moment. He seduced you? I kicked her away, the rage flaring even hotter. You're a grown woman, almost 30 years old, with a husband and a child. Someone bats their eyes at you, and that's all it takes for you to betray your family. I spat. Do you hear how pathetic you sound? And don't think I don't know. This Leo guy looks just like that old flame of yours who died years ago. You're just trying to get your kicks with a cheap substitute. I only knew about the one that got away because I'd found old photos and letters while organizing her things when she was in the hospital, about to give birth to Maya. But the guy was dead. At the time, I didn't see the point in fighting over a ghost, especially when she was pregnant and emotional. I let it go. But I never imagined that one day Khloe wouldn't just cheat on me, but she'd do it by playing out some kind of sick fantasy with a look-alike. It's not like that. Ethan, please listen to me. Khloe crawled back, sobbing hysterically. He said it was for the art, that sacrificing for your craft was an honor. I don't know why, but I believed him. It's not what you think. You two have the audacity to mention art. I pried her hands off me. Cheating is cheating. Don't you dare hide behind that word and insult it. The day we got together, I told you the one thing Ethan Cole, will never tolerate is betrayal. I know I was wrong. She wept. I'll cut off all contact with him. I'll quit acting. I'll stay home and take care of you and Maya. She looked up, her eyes wide with desperation. That's right, we have Maya. She's so little, she can't grow up without a mother. The mention of her daughter just made me angrier. 3 months ago, she'd said she needed to fully immerse herself in the role, so she was moving on to the set. Maya cried for her mother every single day, and I, like an idiot, worried about putting too much pressure on her. So I put my own work on hold to become a full-time dad, sending her care packages from Eruhan and telling her not to worry about a thing. And what was she doing? Tumbling into bed with her lover. I now wondered if all those expensive organic supplements had ended up in Leo Vance's stomach. Ethan, I'm begging you. Khloe scrambled to her feet and grabbed my hand. Please, just forgive me this one time. I swear, I'll be a good wife and a good mother from now on. Looking at her tear-streaked, pitiful face, I remembered the first time we met in college. She was outside the library, practically begging on the phone for a small role, and had accidentally bumped into me. I learned she'd been cut from the cast list because she'd refused a director's advances. I admired her principles, and she was a fellow UCLA student, so I not only helped her get a better part, but also made a point of showing up on her set to make sure no one else bothered her. The more time we spent together, the more I was drawn to her dedication and her passion. Eventually, I gave her my heart. All these years, I'd supported her, trusted her, without question. I'd looked the other way when I found the photos of her old flame. I'd even tolerated the on-screen intimacy, not wanting to make her job difficult. Now I saw it was all one-sided. For the first time, I was seeing the real Khloe. Khloe, I reached out and touched her cheek. Her eyes lit up with a flicker of hope. I told you, the one thing I can't stand is betrayal. My parents, they were ruined, their lives destroyed by someone they trusted. Her eyes went wide. So, for me, the tolerance for betrayal is zero. The light in her eyes died. I picked up the manila envelope from the coffee table, pulled out the divorce agreement, and handed it to her. Sign it. Khloe froze, as if petrified. The sight of the papers seemed to jolt her back to life. No, Ethan, don't, she whispered, shaking her head, her voice trembling. Please don't divorce me. You're regretting it now. My voice was flat, as if I were speaking to a stranger. You cheated. That's a fact. Just sign the papers and don't make this ugly for everyone. No, I won't sign, she cried, dropping to her knees again. We've been together for 6 years. We have a daughter. How can you be so cruel as to just throw me away? I laughed a cold, bitter sound. You remember it's been 6 years? Did you remember you had a loving husband when you were moaning under Leo Vance? Did you remember you had a 4-year-old daughter when you were lying to my face? You have a nerve to bring any of that up now? Have you no shame? My words struck her like blows. All color drained from her face, and her tears flowed like a broken dam. Just sign it. I impatiently held out the pen and the papers to her. You're a public figure. A messy public divorce won't be good for anyone. You don't want Maya to get hurt by this, do you? She opened her mouth, then closed it, her hands twisting together in her lap. Seeing the conflict on her face, my brow furrowed. Was she really going to fight this? No, I won't sign, she suddenly shrieked, grabbing the papers and tearing them to shreds. We've been married 6 years. I had a baby for you. I gave up so many opportunities for you. And now you want to just toss me aside. Gave up opportunities for me? The sheer audacity of that statement. Khloe, you've truly lost all sense of decency. I crouched down, grabbing her chin and forcing her to look at me. Every single opportunity you ever had came from my family's connections. Every movie, every endorsement deal I made happen. Without me, you'd still be a glorified extra somewhere. So I'm supposed to be eternally grateful? She snarled, her expression twisting into something ugly. Ethan, I'm a person, not your plaything. I have needs too. And Leo gave me what I wanted. Gave you what you wanted. I stood up, looming over her. I need love. I need romance. She struggled to her feet, a crazed look in her eyes. What have you ever given me besides resources and a comfortable life? How long has it been since you told me you loved me? How many anniversaries have you forgotten? I was stunned. What kind of twisted logic was this? She grew more agitated. For years, you've treated me like a pet, a canary in a golden cage. Everything is a transaction, a formula. I'm your wife, not your property. Being with you is like being trapped in stagnant water. It's suffocating. I'm sick of this boring, predictable life. Her warped rationalizations ignited my fury. I slapped her again, harder this time. She clutched her swelling cheek, her eyes filled with a venomous hatred as she glared at me. Khloe, you were the one who cheated. You were the one who betrayed me, I said, ignoring her glare, my voice deadly calm. How dare you try to flip this on me? Have you lost your conscience? Don't you ever look at me like that again. She realized she'd gone too far and tried to backtrack, but I cut her off with a raised hand. You want romance and love? Fine, I'll give you your freedom. I turned and walked toward the door. My lawyer will have a new divorce agreement sent over tomorrow. No, Ethan, I don't agree to a divorce. Khloe's hysterical shrieks followed me. I paused with my hand on the doorknob and looked back at her. That's not up to you anymore. Don't forget, I'm a lawyer. And don't forget that I'm the second largest shareholder in coal industries. With that, I walked out of the house. It was tainted. I had no reason to stay. When I got back to my brother's house, I found him, my sister-in-law, and my nephew all looking grim. Mark, Jessica, what's wrong? I asked. Where's Maya? Uncle Ethan. I'm sorry. I made Maya cry, my little nephew mumbled, looking at the floor. My heart seized. Maya was hurt. That didn't sound right. She was a tough little kid. My brother, Mark, sighed and pulled me aside. It's my fault. I forgot she had that gizmo watch. They were playing hide and seek, and Khloe called her, told her everything about the divorce. Your nephew heard Maya sobbing and found her locked in the guest room. He thought it was his fault, and now. My head spun, the vertigo returning with a vengeance. Mark caught my arm just before I stumbled. Was Khloe insane, dragging our child into this? I pushed down my anger, reassured my guilt-ridden nephew it wasn't his fault, and hurried to Maya's room. As I approached the door, I could hear faint sobs from inside, and each one felt like a knife twisting in my heart. Khloe, you will pay for this. I took a deep breath and knocked softly, asking if she would open the door. When she did, the sight of her red, swollen eyes broke me. Daddy, does this mean I won't have a mommy anymore? I froze. That's what she told our daughter. Shaking it off, I knelt and pulled my crying child into a hug, murmuring words of comfort. After she'd calmed down a little, I spent the next hour explaining things in the simplest terms a child could understand. By the time we were done, her mood had improved, but the sadness still lingered in her eyes. I sighed. Only time would heal this wound. I brought her back to the living room, where she and her cousins started playing again, albeit more quietly than usual. Mark, Jessica, I said, bowing my head slightly. I'm so sorry for bringing all this trouble to your home. Mark pulled me upright. Don't be ridiculous, Ethan. He's right, Jessica added, putting on a mock-stern face. We're family. Don't you dare act like a stranger, or you'll have me to deal with. A wave of bittersweet warmth washed over me. Our family owed Jessica's family everything. Years ago, my parents were betrayed by a trusted relative who leaked company secrets. They died in the scandal that followed, and the Cole family name was nearly dragged through the mud, branded as corporate traitors. If Jessica's father hadn't stepped in, risking his own fortune to save us, Mark and I might have. By the way, Jessica said, her eyes twinkling, my sister Sophie is flying in tomorrow. Having her around to play with Maya should help a lot. Oh, right, I mumbled, looking from her to Mark, who was suddenly fascinated by the ceiling. In a flash, I understood his strange mood that morning. He was trying to set me up with Sophie, and from the look on Jessica's face, she was all for it. Sophie and I had grown up together, practically inseparable, but I was a clueless kid, and she always acted like one of the guys, so we never crossed that line. When she heard from overseas that I was engaged to Khloe, she knew it was too late and just sent her quiet congratulations. By the time I found out how she'd really felt, I'd been married for a year. After that, we both wordlessly agreed to let things lie, to remain close friends. Ethan, no pressure, Mark said, clapping me on the shoulder. Just think of it as family catching up. Now, what's your next move? What Khloe did was beyond the pale. I understood his unspoken question. I'm going to make their lives a living hell, I stated flatly. Good, Mark said, a look of approval in his eyes. You're the vice chairman of coal industries. Do what you have to do. I've got your back. Late that night, after tucking Maya in, I went to the study and set my plan in motion. First, I called the head of our media subsidiary and gave the order. Blacklist Leo Vance and Khloe Miller. Terminate everything. Make them unemployable in this town. That would get Khloe's attention and ensure her cooperation with the divorce. Next, I issued a public statement under the coal industry's letterhead. Effective immediately, Ethan Cole has resigned from his position at Miller Corp and severed all personal and professional ties with the Miller family. As I expected, the first call was from Khloe's father. When he found out what his daughter had done, he swore he was going to break her legs, but he was smart enough not to argue against the divorce, fearing it would bring down his entire company. I just laughed, seeing right through his pathetic act. I told him I wouldn't pull all of my family's investments, just enough to teach them a lesson. He breathed a sigh of relief. I'd always gotten along with her family. A little financial bloodletting would be a good reminder for them. As for Khloe and Leo, the blacklisting was just the beginning. I had far more vicious plans in store. Whether the Miller family went bankrupt in the aftermath, well, that would depend on them. After a night of simmering, the news exploded across the entertainment world. Every deal Khloe and Leo had in the works or had already signed was unilaterally canceled. Even their new Netflix show was pulled from the platform, citing a sudden review for inappropriate content. While the industry and the online gossip mill didn't know the specifics, it wasn't hard to guess that Khloe and Leo had pissed off someone with serious power. Just as I'd predicted, Khloe's family's partners, smelling blood in the water, began pulling out of deals. Overnight, they lost hundreds of millions in contracts. Satisfied with the appetizer, I put my phone away and focused on helping my daughter with her breakfast. She was still quiet and withdrawn, and it tore me up inside. After the first 2 years of Maya's life, Khloe had been almost completely absorbed by her career. All told, she spent less than 3 months a year with our daughter. In theory, their bond shouldn't run that deep, more of a child's instinctual need for a parent than a true connection. The worst-case scenario, I figured, was I'd have to hire a child psychologist. A moment later, I realized I was overthinking it. The second my daughter saw her favorite Aunt Sophie, her eyes lit up. She wasn't back to her bubbly self, but any spark of happiness was a victory. I heard what happened, Sophie said, smiling as she scooped Maya into her arms. You go handle your business. I got this. Thanks, Sophie. I owe you one, I said, scratching the back of my head. With that, I left for my meeting with Khloe. After the first wave of attacks, she'd finally agreed to sign the papers, on the condition that I meet her in person. When I arrived at the restaurant, I saw her waiting anxiously by the door. But as we stepped into the private room, I shot her a look loaded with meaning. She brought Leo Vance to a divorce meeting? Did she have a death wish? Ethan, don't get the wrong idea, Khloe stammered, quickly correcting herself. I just brought him here, so he could apologize to you personally. That's all. That's right, Ethan. Leo piped up, rising from his seat. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. Are you kidding me? I cut him off, undoing a button on my suit jacket and taking the seat opposite them. You screw my wife, and now you want to show up and say sorry? Where's your shame? Their fawning expressions froze. Their faces fell, but neither dared to say a word. I glanced at my watch, then slid the new agreement and a pen across the table to Khloe. Enough talk. Sign it. Ethan, I'll agree to the divorce, Khloe said, dropping the act. She took Leo's hand and sat back down. But I have 3 conditions. I raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. She took a sip of water. First, I want full custody of Maya. Second, you call off this blacklisting campaign against me and Leo. And third, I want a $50 million settlement. My hand on the table clenched into a fist, then slowly relaxed. I had truly underestimated how low Khloe could sink. She wanted to use our daughter as a lifelong meal ticket. She was practically begging me to destroy her. Khloe didn't notice my reaction and pressed on. I was married to you for 6 years. I gave you a child. These terms are more than reasonable. Khloe, you really are a master strategist. I sneered, my expression turning to ice. You traumatize our daughter with a phone call one night, then demand custody and cash the next. It seems my first lesson wasn't harsh enough. You were the one who cheated. What right do you have to demand custody of our daughter? My voice rose. Have all those movie roles rotted your brain? I lost all patience. I pulled out my phone and played the video my private investigator had sent me last night. The color drained from both their faces. You had me followed? Khloe hissed, her lip trembling. I pocketed my phone. You've sunk to this level. Of course I'm going to investigate you. Do you have any idea how much you hurt Maya last night? I slammed my hand on the table. And you piece of trash, you told me you were sorry, and then you went straight from my house to his bed? Is that what you call cutting off contact? In that moment, I saw Khloe for who she truly was. The two of them had been at it last night, so caught up they hadn't even bothered to close the curtains, giving my a perfect shot. Ethan, I was just upset last night. It was a moment of weakness. Khloe. I cut her off, disgusted. Are you that desperate? We're not even divorced yet, and you're flaunting it. The prostitutes on Sunset have more principles than you. I've been too easy on you both. It's clear the blacklisting isn't enough. My words terrified them. Sweat beaded on their pale faces. Khloe had spent too long in the shallow, idiotic world of Hollywood and thought this half-baked scheme would work. If she had just signed the papers quietly, I would have let her go for Maya's sake. But she kept pushing. She had no one to blame but herself. Right there, in front of them, I called my assistant and gave the order. Leak everything. All the dirt we had on both of them. That included Leo's history as a trainee in South Korea and the stories of him seducing fans and blackmailing young actresses since he came back to the States. No, Ethan, you can't. Khloe finally understood fear. She scrambled over and fell to her knees beside me. If you do that, I'll be completely ruined. Aren't you worried about how this will affect our daughter? I scoffed. Maya is the victim here. The person responsible is her own mother. Worst case, I take her and move to Europe. As for you two, I paused deliberately, glancing at the trembling Leo. Enjoy rotting in the gutter. Khloe collapsed as if her strings had been cut, kneeling on the floor in a heap. She knew she had finally pushed me too far. A peaceful divorce was off the table. Leo slid out of his chair and onto the floor, muttering, "It's over. It's over." The pretty boy had a history in South Korea of seducing an actress backed by a powerful chaebol heir. When it blew up, he fled the country. If not for stricter regulations back home and the heir's desire to avoid a bigger scandal, Leo would have ended up at the bottom of the Han River. I have all the evidence I need now. I don't need your signature. I stood up, holding up a small digital recorder. I'll be submitting all proof of your adultery to the court to force the divorce. With irrefutable evidence of infidelity and what amounted to blackmail, a judge would grant my petition easily. Add in her celebrity status and the coming media storm, and she wouldn't have a leg to stand on. I kicked her aside without a second glance and walked out. At the courthouse, I filed the mountain of evidence I prepared. Once public opinion reached a fever pitch, I was confident the legal process would move very, very quickly. On the way home, I stopped and bought Maya and my nephew their favorite cupcakes and snacks. It was time to comfort my kids. 2 days later, the internet exploded. As I'd planned, Khloe and Leo became a #1 trending topic and public enemy #1. It started with an anonymous YouTube channel posting a detailed breakdown of their on-screen chemistry, analyzing how it was clearly not just acting. Once that gained traction, I had my team flood social media with grainy but damning photos and videos from the set and of them entering the hotel. Even through the blur, anyone who followed them could recognize the stars. The internet went into a frenzy. OMG, that really is Khloe Miller. She's married with a kid, and she's messing around with some young stud? Khloe is playing a dangerous game. I heard Leo Vance looks exactly like her old college boyfriend who died. There are side-by-side pics, it's crazy. Leo is even worse. He slept his way to the top in Korea, and ever since he came to Hollywood, he's been nonstop scandal. Cheating with married women, sleeping with fans, coercing young actresses. How are people like this still working? Get them out of Hollywood. Just hearing their names makes me sick. Khloe is the definition of having it all and throwing it away. The Coles are one of the most powerful families in LA, and her husband is a devoted family man. What is wrong with her? An avalanche of hate buried them online. Even Khloe's family company was caught in the fallout, teetering on the brink of collapse. They issued a public statement disowning her, but the public wasn't buying it. Her most obsessive fans, unable to find Khloe, started protesting daily outside the Miller Corp offices. Khloe was now hiding out at her agent's house. In just 2 days, she'd called me over 100 times and sent 1,000 desperate texts, begging for mercy. I finally changed my number just to get some peace. As for Leo, my I told me he was holed up in a grimy basement apartment in a rough part of town, living like a rat. Not only had I leaked his dirt, but I'd also paid to have trolls stoke the flames among his former fan groups and online forums. I even funded a legal support group for the women he had victimized. But it wasn't enough. I wanted them to understand the consequences of betraying me. Daddy, look. Maya came running toward me, her little legs pumping. I'm made of flour. Isn't it pretty? Let me see. I picked her up, examining the delicate origami flower. It's beautiful. I praised her sincerely. My little Maya is so talented. Daddy could never learn how to do this. Can I keep it? I kissed her cheek, and she giggled. Okay, she beamed, her eyes curving into happy little crescents. But I have to make another one for Aunt Sophie. She's the one who taught me. I looked over at Sophie as she walked toward us, a quiet admiration filling me. She had a gift with children. In just 2 days, she'd nearly made Maya forget about her birth mother. Thank you, I said as Maya scampered off to make another flower. I looked at Sophie, my gratitude genuine. If it weren't for you, I honestly don't know how I would have handled this. Don't be a stranger. We're practically family, right? Sophie said, throwing an arm around my shoulders in her usual tomboyish way. Besides, comforting kids isn't exactly a guy's strong suit, especially a straight-laced guy like you. She shot me a playful eye roll. I pursed my lips, made a decision, and looked at her seriously. Give me some time, and give Maya some time. Okay. The words felt like they took all my strength, as if I just finished a grueling court case. You said it, Sophie replied, playfully shaking a small fist at me. Don't you dare let someone else beat you to it this time. I won't forgive you. I smiled. I was about to say something more when our housekeeper interrupted. Mr. Cole, that woman, she said, catching sight of Maya and correcting herself. She's here. She insists on seeing you. I nodded. It was time to see what new trick Khloe had up her sleeve. I stepped outside the main house and saw Khloe, bundled up in disguise from head to toe. I gestured for her to follow me to the guest house. She paused, her gaze fixed on the main house where our family was, but a sharp look from me made her fall in line. Once inside, she ripped off her mask and sunglasses and immediately dropped to her knees. Ethan, please let me go, she sobbed, tears streaming down her face. I know I was wrong. I was fickle, ungrateful. Please call off the online mob. I can't live like this anymore. Call them off. I feigned confusion. I've heard what's been happening, but I'm just a lawyer. The Cole family is in business. We don't have the power to control public opinion. I wouldn't be stupid enough to admit to something like that. It was you, she shrieked, pointing a trembling finger at me. Those videos and pictures you showed me, they're all over the internet now. Her voice cracked. Ethan, we were married for 6 years. Why are you so determined to destroy me completely? Watch your words. I could sue you for slander, I said with a cold smile. Do you have any proof? You come storming into my home, making accusations, and you call me ruthless? For all I know, this is just karma for betraying me. It has nothing to do with me. You, defeated, she pulled out a digital recorder and her phone. I just want you to stop. If you let me go, I'll do anything you want. She crawled closer, grabbing a leg of my pants. Please, I really know I was wrong. I'm homeless. People are hunting for me everywhere. I can't take it anymore. If you know you're wrong, then go apologize, I said, prying her hands off me. As a public figure, you should take responsibility for your actions, set a good example. Begging me won't do you any good. While she was distracted, I reached into her hair, pulled out the tiny listening device she'd hidden there, and crushed it under my heel. Playing games with me? I looked at her with amusement, as despair washed over her face. You know what? Seeing you like this, I find it very satisfying. I crouched down, patting her head condescendingly. A woman who betrays her husband and abandons her family deserves to be scorned by the world, doesn't she? Khloe flinched as if shocked, her body trembling violently. Don't. Ethan, please don't be like this. Let's get back together, she pleaded, her eyes wild. I won't go anywhere. I'll stay home and take care of you and Maya. What do you say? You can keep me locked up? Anything, just as long as you let me go. You really think highly of yourself. I stood up, looking down at the half-crazed woman on the floor. Khloe, have I ever forced you to do anything you didn't want to do? Have I ever not supported your career? Have I ever done a single thing to wrong you? Faced with my questions, she looked confused but nodded in admission. Then what right did you have to betray me? And what right do you have to come back here talking about getting back together? This mess you're in, you made it yourself. You have no one to blame. Khloe's mouth opened and closed, but she couldn't form a reply. She just knelt there, sobbing. I rubbed my temples. Since we'd gotten married, I had done everything to accommodate her. I turned down social events, came home on time every day, and avoided any improper contact with other women, including Sophie. When she went on location, I became a full-time dad, so she wouldn't have to worry. I did all of that, and it still wasn't enough. Now that she's lost everything, she regrets it. Too little, too late. All right, you've seen me. Now go, I said, waving her away dismissively and turning to leave. A heart-wrenching cry came from behind me. Ethan, please let me go. I'll do anything you ask. I didn't look back. The court date is in 3 days, I said over my shoulder. Someone will notify you of the time. For the next 2 days, Khloe harassed me like a madwoman. She even tried to see Maya, looking for a weak spot. That just infuriated me more. I had already shown her the way out: issue a public apology, retire from acting, and disappear into some small town to live out her days. But she couldn't let go of the spotlight. She was still delusional enough to think we could get back together, that she could resume her glamorous life. I decided to close off her last escape route for good. I had my team leak a steady stream of candid photos of her, making her scurry from one hiding place to another like a rat. Then I had them dig up every negative story from her past, diva behavior on set, arguments with crew, everything, and republish it all, destroying what was left of her reputation. On top of that, there were the contract penalty clauses. With the divorce asset freeze in place, she couldn't pay a dime and was now dodging debt collectors. As for Leo, he was now a fugitive. I saw that he was still managing to get by, even with his location being constantly leaked online, so I decided to turn up the heat. Thanks to an anonymous tip from a concerned citizen, he was now under investigation for his involvement in multiple sex parties. He got lucky, though, managing to flee back to South Korea before they could catch him. But that was even better for me. He ran right into the lion's den, and I was happy to give him a little push. I had my team plaster news of his whereabouts all over the South Korean internet. And just to really provoke the cuckolded Chable heir, I made sure to reignite the old scandal involving Leo and the K-drama superstar. I wanted him destroyed, but I wasn't going to get my own hands dirty. I had a daughter to raise. On the day of the court hearing, I saw the headline on an international news site and smiled. Fugitive actor Leo Vance stabbed to death in Seoul after harassing gangster's girlfriend. That Chable heir worked fast. With that, my revenge was complete. I walked into the courthouse, my steps light. All that was left was Khloe, and that would soon be over too. As I took my seat at the plaintiff's table, I was surprised to see Khloe sitting alone. She hadn't even brought a public defender. When she took off her mask and sunglasses, a flicker of complicated emotion went through me. She looked 10 years older. Her face was gaunt and sallow, her eyes were bloodshot, and her clothes were visibly worn. These past few days had clearly been hell for her. The sight brought me a grim satisfaction, but also a strange sense of empathy for a fallen creature. I quickly pushed it away. She was the one who cheated. She was the one who used our daughter. Not sending her to hell with Leo was the greatest mercy I could offer. She looked at me, her eyes a mix of emotions. Before the judge entered, she stood and walked over to me. "Ethan, I don't want anything," she said, her voice sincere, tears welling in her eyes. I'm begging you, for old time's sake, can you help me with the debt collectors? If I don't pay them, they're going to sell me to traffickers in Southeast Asia." I'll admit, for a moment, I hesitated. Did I really want to be that ruthless? She had burned through every ounce of affection I ever had for her, but she was still my daughter's mother. She didn't beg anymore, just stood there waiting for my answer, her hands twisting the frayed hem of her coat. "All right," I finally said, "but you are to never, ever appear in Maya's life again. Leave this city, go somewhere else, and start over." My lawsuit already requested she be denied visitation rights, but getting her to agree up front would prevent future trouble. After what she'd been through, I didn't think she'd dare try anything. "Thank you," she said, bowing deeply before returning to the defendant's table. I shook my head and sighed. If only she had shown this attitude from the beginning, instead of choosing self-destruction. 5 minutes later, the judge entered. With the bang of the gavel, the proceedings began. It was incredibly smooth. Khloe agreed to all of my demands, completely passive. But every so often, she would look at me with pleading, desperate eyes, as if to remind me that all she wanted now was a chance to survive. The hearing was over in record time. The outcome was exactly what I wanted. I was granted sole custody of Maya. Khloe walked away with nothing and no visitation rights. And due to the high-profile nature of the case, the divorce was finalized on the spot. Walking out of the courthouse, I saw her leaving, head down. I didn't give her a second glance before getting in my car. She had brought all of this on herself. Paying off her debts was the last act of kindness I would ever show her. How she lived from now on, whether she starved on the streets or found a new life, was no longer my concern. That evening, I was in the kitchen cooking a celebratory dinner for my family when Sophie came in and showed me her phone. I turned down the heat on the stove, wiped my hands, and took it. It was Khloe's apology video. In it, she confessed to everything, taking full blame for her actions and offering a sincere apology to me, to Maya, and to the fans she had disappointed. I shook my head, handed the phone back to Sophie, and went back to cooking. "Feeling sorry for her?" Sophie asked, playfully bumping me with her shoulder. "What are you talking about?" I laughed and leaned over to kiss her on the cheek. If I don't get this dinner on the table soon, my daughter and nephew are going to faint from hunger. She realized I was just messing with her and swatted at me with a tiny fist. You're so mischievous now. It's better this way, isn't it? Life should feel like life, I said with a smile, tossing the vegetables in the pan. But in my heart, I knew I was thinking about something else. People have to grow. This whole ordeal had made me realize that while the fault was Khloe's, was I completely blameless? In the quiet of the night, I'd asked myself that question over and over. The answer was yes, I had some blame, but not much. I had loved her, but my love had become rigid, formulaic. Even when passion fades into the quiet comfort of family, it shouldn't feel like a business transaction. If I had put in a little more effort, been a little more romantic, if I had tried to pull her back when she first became obsessed with fame, would things have turned out differently? But there are no what-ifs. And I honestly don't know if she would have changed, even if I had. You can't know what never happened. Shaking off the thoughts, I plated the last dish and followed Sophie to the dining room. Dinner is served, I announced with a flourish. Seeing my family gathered around the table, happy and at peace, the last vestiges of darkness in my heart finally dissipated. The past was the past. Life goes on. My future, with the people who loved me, was waiting. 3 years passed in the blink of an eye. Sophie and I were married. Maya had happily accepted her new mom, and the two of them were inseparable. Our life was blissful until today, when a shadow fell over it. Khloe was dead. Today was her burial. After the divorce, she had moved to a small town in the middle of nowhere. Because of her past, no company would hire her. She lived a hard life, surviving on odd jobs and collecting cans and scrap to make ends meet. 2 nights ago, while she was out scavenging late at night, the best time to find valuable trash, she was harassed by a violent drunk. During the struggle, he pushed her to the ground. Her temple struck the sharp edge of a rock. The man panicked and ran, leaving her bleeding and unconscious in the dark alley. By the time a passerby found her, she had bled to death. The man was caught and sentenced, but then a new problem arose. Khloe's family refused to claim her body. With no one else to turn to, the police had contacted me. I could hide it from Maya for a while, but not forever. It was better to tell her now, to help her through it, so that when she grew up, she wouldn't resent us or blame herself. Daddy, Mommy, Sophie, does this mean I'll never see Mommy ever again? Maya asked, her eyes red from crying. I knew what she was really asking. She was afraid that one day, Sophie and I would suddenly disappear too. No, sweetie, Sophie said, crouching down and hugging her, gently rubbing her back. Your dad and I will always be with you. And your mommy. She didn't really leave. Seeing Maya's confused look, she explained, she became a star, and now she's up in the sky, watching over you. So you have to be strong, Maya, or you'll make her worry. I added, if you ever miss your mommy, just look up at the stars at night and talk to her. She'll hear you. Okay, Maya sniffled, wiping her tears with the back of her hand and nodding seriously. I'll be strong. I won't make Mommy worry, and I won't make you and Mommy Sophie sad. I smiled and stroked her hair. Good girl. Let's go home. Daddy will make you your favorite garlic shrimp scampi. Okay. I took my daughter's hand, casting one last look at the photo on the gravestone. It was her favorite picture, her college graduation photo. With death, all debts are paid. The hatred was long gone. Rest in peace, I thought. As night fell, the sky filled with stars. Out in the yard, Maya pointed to the brightest one. Daddy, look, it's Mommy, and she's smiling. I pulled Sophie closer, her warmth radiating into my hand. Yes, I said, she's wishing us well. A gentle breeze rustled through the trees, carrying the scent of flowers and a feeling of peace. Whatever the future held, we would face it together as a family, and we would be happy.